Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and we are back with more notable names in Jewish American history. For this video, we are looking at J. Robert Oppenheimer, the father of the atomic bomb. Before we get into the video, though, I do want to go ahead and let you know we have two ways to donate to the channel. I have a Patreon account that's month to month, monthly donation system. And I have a Coffee account, which can do much the same, but it also lets you do one-time single donations. Do not donate if you are in financial trouble. Take care of what you need to take care of. Things are tough enough as it is out there. If you can donate and you want to donate, it won't hurt you. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's me, myself, and I that make these videos, so yeah. With that said, let's jump into this video. About tripped over my own tongue there. From the National Park Service, J. Robert Oppenheimer. Born in New York City in 1904, often called the father of the atomic bomb. Theoretical physicist who received a PhD from Germany's University of Göttingen in 1927 and joined the faculty at the University of California, Berkeley, and Caltech the same year. In 1942, General Leslie Groves, leader of the Manhattan Project, appointed Oppenheimer to lead Site Y, the secret weapons research and development facility at Los Alamos, New Mexico. He would serve as director of the Los Alamos Laboratory until 1945. During his time, he led the effort to design and construct the world's first atomic bombs, culminating in the successful Trinity test on July the 16th, 1945. After the war, he served as an advisor to the Atomic Energy Commission, worked at Caltech, and became director for the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, New Jersey. In the 1950s, at the height of the Red Scare, his past perceived communist leanings and his speakings out against the development of the hydrogen bomb led the Atomic Energy Commission to revoke his security clearance, effectively ending his political influence. He would die of throat cancer in 1967. Yeah, the Red Scare, one of the biggest bullshit things to happen in American history. Because all of a sudden, we're going to worry about communism. Even though before, some of the greatest minds, some of the greatest entertainers, they were socialists, they were communists, they believed in these ideas. Because even they could see capitalism screws over regular people. And we're back to that point, to where it's become pretty fucking clear capitalism will screw you over. From Britannica. He was born April 22nd, 1904, New York City, New York. American theoretical physicist and science administrator, noted as director of the Los Alamos Laboratory during 1943 to 1945 during the development of the atomic bomb, and as director for the Institute on the Advanced Study at Princeton 1947 to 66. Accusations of disloyalty led to a government hearing that resulted in the loss of his security clearance and his position as advisor to the highest echelons of U.S. government. The case became a cause célèbre in a world of science because of the implications concerning political and moral issues relating to the role of scientists in government. Again, Red Scare, one of the stupidest fucking things. Early life and education. Son of a German immigrant who made his fortune by importing textiles in New York City. And during his undergraduate studies at Harvard, he excelled in Latin, Greek, physics, chemistry, published poetry, and studied Eastern philosophy. So clearly highly intelligent. After graduating in 1925, he sailed for England to do research at the Cavendish Laboratory at the University of Cambridge, which, under the leadership of Lord Ernest Rutherford, had an international reputation for its pioneer studies in atomic structure. At the Cavendish, Oppenheimer had the opportunity to collaborate with the British scientific community on his efforts to advance the cause of atomic research. Max Born invited Oppenheimer to the University of Göttingen, where he met other prominent physicists such as Niels Bohr and P.A.M. Dirac, and where in 1927 he received his doctorate. After short visits at the science centers in Leiden and Zurich, he returned to the United States to teach physics at the University of California and at Berkeley and the California Institute of Technology. In the 1920s, the new quantum and relativity theories were engaging the attention of science. That mass was equivalent to energy, and that matter could be both wave-like and corpuscular, called implications seen only dimly at that carried implications only seen dimly at that time. Oppenheimer's early research was devoted in particular to the energy processes of subatomic particles, including electrons, positrons, and cosmic rays. He also did groundbreaking work on neutron stars and black holes. Since quantum theory had only been proposed only a few years before, the university post provided him an excellent opportunity to devote his entire career to the exploration and development of full significance. In addition, he trained a whole generation of U.S. physicists who were greatly affected by his qualities of leadership and intellectual independence. So yeah, already having an effect in the 20s on just how he's seeing things. Because remember, 1910s, Einstein was part of the big upcoming of thought when it comes to atomic and subatomic, because he writes all these papers within a few years, and the great majority of them are just groundbreaking. It's like, of course, Oppenheimer, he's not long after in the 20s, and he's having his own breakthroughs as well. The rise of Hitler in Germany stirred his first interest in politics. In 1936, he sided with the Republic during the Civil War in Spain, where he became acquainted with communist students. Although his father's death in 1937 left Oppenheimer's fortune that allowed him to subsidize anti-fascist organizations, the tragic suffering inflicted by Joseph Stalin on Russian scientists led him to withdraw his associations with the Communist Party. Yeah, Stalin, he may have been the leader of the USSR while it was a communist nation, but he didn't really follow true communist dictate. And I'm so sick of people trying to use him as, oh, see, this is what communist leaders do. Durr. Anyway, in fact, he never joined the party, and at the same time reinforced in him a liberal democratic philosophy. In 1939, he began an affair with Catherine Pointing, Puaning, a graduate student in botany at the University of California, Los Angeles. She would divorce her husband and marry Oppenheimer in 1940. After the invasion of Poland by Nazi Germany in 1939, the physicists Albert Einstein, Leo Szilard, and Eugene Wigner warned the U.S. government of the danger threatening all of humanity if the Nazis should be the first to make a nuclear bomb. Yeah, because the thoughts and idealizations were already out there. The potential was clear at this point. It's like, this could do a lot. Yeah. Oppenheimer then began to seek a process for the separation of uranium-235 from natural uranium and to determine the critical mass of uranium required to make such a bomb. In August 1942, the U.S. Army was given the responsibility of organizing the efforts of British and U.S. physicists to seek a way to harness nuclear energy for military purposes, an effort that became known as the Manhattan Project. Oppenheimer was instructed to establish and administer a laboratory to carry out this assignment. In 1943, he chose the plateau of Los Alamos near Santa Fe, New Mexico. For reasons that have not been made clear, in 1942, he initiated discussions with military security agents that culminated with the implication that some of his friends and acquaintances were agents of the Soviet government. This led to the dismissal of a personal friend on the faculty at the University of California. In a 1954 security hearing, he described his contribution to those discussions as a tissue of lies. The joint effort of outstanding scientists at Los Alamos culminated in the first nuclear explosion on July the 16th, 1945, at the Trinity site near Alamogordo, New Mexico, after the surrender of Germany. So they finally discovered the use of the atomic bomb, but Germany had already surrendered because of just the clear grind they had on a two-front war. The U.S., England, and French rebels on the west, and the USSR on the east. People got to realize the USSR lost a lot of people in that war. They suffered some of the highest casualties. But we had the bombs, and unfortunately they were used on Japan. So yeah. In October of the same year, Oppenheimer resigned his post, and in 1947 he became head for the Institute of Advanced Study and served from 47 to 52 as chairman of the General Advisory Committee for the Atomic Energy Commission, which in October 1949 opposed development of the hydrogen bomb. Security hearing and later years. On December the 21st, 1953, he was notified of a military security report unfavorable to him and was accused of having associated with communists in the past, of delaying the naming of Soviet agents, and opposing the building of the hydrogen bomb. The following year, a security hearing declared him not guilty of treason, but ruled that he should not have access to military secrets. As a result, his contract as advisor to the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission was canceled. The Federation of American Scientists immediately came to his defense with a protest against the trial. Oppenheimer was made the worldwide symbol of a scientist who, while trying to resolve the moral problems that arise from scientific discovery, becomes the victim of a witch hunt. He spent the last years of his life working out ideas in the relationship between science and society. And of course, we know well his quote after seeing the Trinity test successful says, "I have become death, destroyer of worlds," which is a line from the Bhagavad Gita when Krishna transforms in front of Arjuna to become Kali. Oppenheimer's legacy. In 1963, U.S. President Lyndon B. Johnson presented Oppenheimer with the Enrico Fermi Award of the Atomic Energy Commission. He retired from the Institute for Advanced Study in 1967 and died of throat cancer the following year. In 2014, 60 years after the proceedings that effectively ended his career, the U.S. Department of Energy released the full declassified transcript of the hearing. While many of the details were already known, the newly released material bolstered Oppenheimer's assertions of loyalty and reinforced the perception that a brilliant scientist had been brought low by a bureaucratic cocktail of professional jealousy and McCarthyism. Again, Red Scare, McCarthyism, some of the biggest fucking bullshit. In 2022, the Department of Energy formally vacated the revocation of Oppenheimer's security clearance. Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm claimed that the bias and unfairness of a flawed process had led to his exile from the nuclear establishment. Christopher Nolan's movie Oppenheimer cast Cillian Murphy in the title role of a film that explored Oppenheimer's role in the development of the atomic bomb and the events that led to the 1954 security hearing. So yeah, we get a little more in depth. On J. Robert Oppenheimer died February 18, 1967 in Princeton, New Jersey. Brilliant mind, treated horribly, which kind of feels repetitive as of today because you have the dumb dick Trump administration forcing many of the great minds to leave. I swear, fuck this goddamn Trump bitch ass shit. We are right back in the bullshit era because of stupid fucks like that. But yeah, J. Robert Oppenheimer. Earned a Bachelor of Arts from Harvard University, apparently attended Christ College in Cambridge, and earned a PhD from University of Göttingen. Known for the development of the first nuclear weapons, Worked with Born to develop the Born-Oppenheimer approximation, with Thoman for the Thoman-Oppenheimer-Volkoff equation, and the Thoman-Oppenheimer-Volkoff limit, the Oppenheimer-Snyder model, and the Oppenheimer-Phillips process. So a lot of things, it's like, this is what we can do to really get things going. Married Catherine Twining in 1940 and would have 2 children. Earned the Medal of Merit in 1946, but then in 54, the Red Scare bitches fucked everything up. He would receive the Enrico Fermi Award in 1963. Yeah. Theoretical physics and atomic science. Let's see. Julius Robert Oppenheimer, to a non-observant Jewish family. His mother, Ella Friedman, and his father, Julius Seligman Oppenheimer. Father was born in Hanau, which is still part of the Hesse-Nassau province of the Kingdom of Prussia, when it was still part of it. So yeah, Prussia to the east of Germany, no longer existent, but yeah, at one point, powerful nation. Who was the general, one of the generals who taught the American troops during the Revolutionary War how to run drills to become a more unified fighting force under Washington, was a general from Prussia. I cannot remember his name. But yeah. So, no longer existent, but it's got quite a history. Let's see. Entered Harvard in 1922 at the age of 18. Majored in chemistry. But as was required by Harvard, he studied history, literature, philosophy, or mathematics. Let's see. Undergraduate Honor Society, Phi Beta Kappa. Graduated summa cum laude when he got his Bachelor of Arts from Harvard. Studies in Europe. Did he get the Doctorate of Philosophy from Göttingen, University of Göttingen, or Göttingen, not Göttingen, Göttingen. I'm assuming that's how it's pronounced, Göttingen. Let's see. He was a teacher. Did a lot of work at Caltech, California Institute of Technology. Associate professorship at the University of California, Berkeley. Working closely with Nobel Prize winning physicist Ernest Lawrence and his cyclotron pioneers, helping them understand their data that their machines were producing at Berkeley's radiation laboratory, which would become Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, named after Ernest Lawrence. Oppenheimer repeatedly attempted to get Robert Server a position at Berkeley, but was blocked by Berga, who felt that one Jew in the department was enough. So clearly a bit of anti-Semitism. Work in astrophysics, general relativity, and nuclear theory, nuclear physics, spectroscopy, quantum field theory, including its extension into quantum electrodynamics. Had predictions about neutron stars, which were not observed until 1967. So clearly, again, brilliant. But because he looked for different things, he worked with different people all around the world, which great minds should, he was treated as if he was a monster by the McCarthyist Red Scare bullshit. His mother would pass away in 1931, which would end up with him growing closer to his father, who would still reside in New York but became a frequent visitor to California. His father, unfortunately, would die in 1937, but would leave him almost $400,000, equivalent to about $8.6 million in 2024. So yeah, he was left a good chunk of change. Oppenheimer promptly wrote a will bequeathing his estate to the University of California to fund graduate scholarships. Kind of wasn't really involved in world affairs during the 20s. Didn't really read newspapers or popular magazines, and only learned of the Wall Street crash of '29 while he was on a walk with Ernest Lawrence 6 months after it occurred. He never cast a vote until the 1936 presidential election, and from 1934 on he became increasingly concerned about politics and international affairs. Which, 1936, I think FDR wins his first term, and of course in Europe, Hitler. So yeah. Spanish Civil War broke out. He hosted fundraisers for the Spanish Republican cause. In 1939, he joined the American Committee for Democracy and Intellectual Freedom, which campaigned against the persecution of Jewish scientists in Nazi Germany, which, again, a lot of people were already being arrested and sent to the concentration camps. We weren't fully aware of the evils that were going on, but we know many of the people were being treated, horribly. Like most liberal groups of the era, the committee was later branded a communist front. Sounds repetitive to today. Amazing how that seems to be. His closest associates were active in the Communist Party in the 30s and 40s, including his brother Frank, Frank's wife, Kitty, they don't say who she was, Jean Tatlock, American psychiatrist, and his landlady Mary Ellen Washburn, and several of his graduate students at Berkeley. Like I said, before World War II, ideas of communism and socialism were well spread throughout the U.S. There was a communist party, socialist party, many meetings of people who would get together and discuss communism and socialism. But because of after the war, with the McCarthyism and Red Scare bullshit, we got a bunch of fear-mongering fucktards. And a lot of people who grew up not really understanding what fucking communism actually was. FBI opening a file on them, security clearance hearings. So even though he was married at one point, he became involved with Jean Tatlock, the daughter of a Berkeley literature professor and a student at Stanford University School of Medicine. And as we saw, she's a psychiatrist. Member of the Communist Party USA and a reporter and writer for the party's publication, Western Worker. After a tempestuous relationship, she would break up with Oppenheimer, and it was in 40. He would meet Catherine Kitty Pointing in August of 39, a former Communist Party member. She would become pregnant while still married and ask for a divorce and obtain a quick divorce so she could marry Oppenheimer. Followed by Army security agents during a trip to California when he went to visit Tatlock, who was suffering from depression. He would spend the night in an apartment and she would kill herself January 4th, 1944, which would leave an effect on Oppenheimer. So not a perfect man, he began an emotional affair with Ruth Tolman, American psychologist and professor, known for her work on PTSD. She was a psychologist and wife of his friend Richard Tillman. So it wasn't necessarily physical, but there was an emotional connection with her. So Richard would pass in 48, and they would reconnect and see each other occasionally until her death in 57. Yeah. Interest in Hindu text and Sanskrit, because the Bhagavad Gita, I have become death, destroyer of worlds. So he got very deep into Hinduism. The Manhattan Project. Bomb design. The Trinity test. Yeah. I am become death. Post-war activities, we've talked about, yeah, him becoming a part of the Atomic Power Commission, pushing back on the trying to develop a hydrogen bomb, Institute for Advanced Study. Oppenheimer and Einstein had been colleagues and shared a cordial relationship with each other, and this image is from around 1950. His time on the Atomic Energy Commission, panels and study groups. And the infamous security hearing. Yeah. HUAC, House Un-American Activities Committee. Could you please describe what consists of an American activity? Of course not, because they're fearmongers. They want people to point a finger at. Oppenheimer lived for several months of each year, starting in 1954 on the island of St. John in the U.S. Virgin Islands. In 57, he purchased a 2-acre tract of land on Gibney Beach, where he built a Spartan home on the beach. He spent time sailing with his daughter Toni and his wife Kitty. '59 gets the Enrico Fermi Award. His death in '67 from throat cancer. Kitty would die in 72 from an intestinal infection complicated by pulmonary embolism. Oppenheimer's ranch in New Mexico was inherited by their son Peter, and the beach property inherited by the daughter Catherine Tony Oppenheimer Silber. So yeah. Rather than consistently oppose the red baiting of the late 40s and early 50s, he testified against former colleagues and students before and during his hearing. In one incident, his damning testimony against former student Bernard Peters was selectively leaked to the press. Historians have interpreted this as an attempt by Oppenheimer to please his colleagues in the government and perhaps to divert attention away from his own previous left-wing ties and those of his brother. It would unfortunately become a liability when it became clear he had really doubted Peter's loyalty, and recommending him for the Manhattan Project was reckless, or at least contradictory. So, yeah. Truly about as human gets. He had his own issues, own problems as an individual, but overall, highly intelligent. And it's known that it bothered his conscience to see how destructive the atomic bomb actually would be. And that there would be an attempt to develop even more powerful ones like the hydrogen bomb. Yeah. But we'll go ahead and end this episode there. As always, educate thyself, think, read, study, learn. Someone tells you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. It can't be a bunch of tinfoil hat wearing sources or a random bunch of anecdotes thrown together to try to make a source. I'll be putting my links and sources in the description box below the video. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, later.